Hi, and welcome back to art class. I think you're really going to like today's class. Can you guess what it is? I'll give you a hint. Yes, we are working on friendship bracelets today. Before we get started, I'll let you know what your art supplies are you need for this one. String. If you don't have string, remember you can use strips of fabric. I have done this before. I made stuff out of it. Make sure your parents are okay with it, but any fabric that you have around that you can cut into long strips will work just fine. You can do exactly the same thing with it. If you don't have that, you can use some thick yarn or embroidery floss, or if your parents have some thin rope and they're okay with you using it. So talk to your adults that are around and be creative, but make sure you have approval before you use something. Before we get going on this, I wanted to talk to you about why we're going back to friendship bracelets now. Well, we talked about design, and we talked about form and function, or how pretty and how useful a design is. A design being anything from my Sharpie marker to a mug, right? Anything that has a little bit of purpose in how it was made. Someone made some decisions that this mug was going to be this color, and it was going to have this shape, and it was going to have a little lip here, right? Those are all design decisions. Is it a pretty mug? Well, that's up to anyone's, personal choice. It's all right. It functions just fine as a mug. It doesn't have any holes. So now that we've thought about that, how form and function works, now we're going to talk about the next step, and that is, the next step in designing things. The next step is to look at how things are usually made and think, how would I make this differently? Would I make something different? Could I do something different with this? Could I use my materials in a little bit different way to create what I want to create, or create a little bit different version of it? So you probably remember me showing you how to do bracelets kind of like this. You just do 2 loops all the way across all of the yarns. If you struggled with doing this one, I'm going to show you again. If you still have a little bit of trouble with it, please go back to the other week's lesson at some point and practice the little bit easier wrapping techniques or braiding techniques, weaving. It's all the same thing in this. But if you were able to do those just fine, now you get to do this. Now, if you have any little brothers or sisters with you, if you're watching them and they have time and the parents are okay with it, bring them over and have them watch the video with you and have them watch how you make this, okay? So let me turn on my doc cam. And I'm going to turn on my doc cam while you go and get whatever yarn you have. So press pause, and when you come back, we'll all be ready, okay? All right, did you get your supplies? Do you have some yarn or some fabric, something to work with? If you don't have any of those things, that's okay. You can still watch this and understand the concepts that we're working with, all right? And if you want to, you can certainly click on one of the links to the classes for the other grades for this week or previous weeks. I think there's some pretty good lessons, and you could definitely do them. They're not too basic for you. So hopefully you have some different colors of yarn that you're working with. Ooh, it really does not want to focus today. Let's see. There we go. Okay, needed a little more light. Now we're in business. When you have a bracelet like this, let's see, can I bring my dot cam down? Just a moment, let me see if I can bring my dot cam down a little bit. Nope, I can't really, not the way I set it up on my desk here, so just gonna have to look closely. All right. When you do this sort of bracelet, remember you start with the yarn all the way on the left and you work to the right. I'm in the middle of a row right now. I can see that I did red. Oops, I did red and then I started the blue. See how I covered the pink yarn and the yellow yarn in blue? Now I need to do that to the white yarn. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold the white yarn down, take my blue yarn, lay it across my white yarn, okay? Then tuck this tail of the blue yarn. I'm just going to do it with my hands differently so you can see it on the camera. I'm going to take the tail of this blue yarn, put it under the white yarn so it's still kind of pointing up. See how my yarn is pointing up? And it's coming through this loop. Now I can pull my blue yarn up to the sky and away from me. All right, and I made one knot. Now I need to do that again. Again, the blue yarn goes across. Tuck the tail under so that it still kind of points up. Then you pull it up towards the sky and away from you. Now, when I taught you how to do these, we had clipboards. Remember, if you don't have a clipboard, you can certainly tie a little knot here and then attach this to something, or you can just use your fingers to hold the yarn straight while you work on it. So again, I'm going to lay the yarn across. I'm using my blue yarn right now. See how that I have partial row there? I need to make that blue keep going across these yarns. So I'm going to tuck that tail under, and it's going to come through this loop. I'm going to pull it up and away. I'm going to do that 2 times for each yarn I go across. Tuck that tail under, pull it up and away. After you do that on a yarn, you should see, you see right there how the yarn is wrapped around the other yarn? If it does not look like that, if it looks like this, oops, hold on. If it looks like this when you get done with it, just kind of twist it around it. You see that? If that's what it looks like, you did something wrong, you need to stop, and I'll show you what you did wrong. This is the biggest mistake students make, right? Happens all the time, so don't worry about it if you did it, but here's how you fix it. When you cross your yarn over, okay, and you tuck your tail under, what you are doing is you are having your tail, oops, hold on. You're doing this with your tail. See how the blue is going around the teal yarn and coming under? But there's one thing wrong. This tail needs to be in the middle of this loop. You need to see this tail inside that other loop of yarn. That's what's allowing you to make the knot. So that when you pull it up, well, let me show you this way too. So that when I pull this yarn up and away, can you see how it's wrapped around it? When I pull it all the way up, see how it knots? That's how it needs to look. So again, put your tail so that it's in here, not down here. The tail should not be down here outside this loop. It should be inside its own little loop. And pull it up and away. One more time, I'm just gonna finish this row with you. Then we're gonna show you the new other design we're going to work on. All right, so. 1, 2. All right, so I finished that row. Looks pretty good. It's a very basic friendship bracelet. It's the one I always learned how to make. Oops, I missed one right there. See that? If you ever get one that looks like this, don't worry about it, it happens, but see how there's not enough pink right there? Yeah, there's some yellow. That's because I only did one stitch of pink there. I didn't do two. That's why that happens. It's all right, doesn't really hurt anything, but not what I meant to do. All right, so now what we're gonna do. So I know how to make that kind of bracelet. I've known how to make this bracelet for probably 31 years. Yes, I'm over 30. We'll just say over 30. You don't need to get exact about it, right? All right, so I've known how to do this forever. But I looked at some other friendship bracelets and I thought, oh, they had these diamonds and they had these V patterns. And I thought, well, wait a minute, I bet I know how to make that V pattern. And then I thought, well, I bet I could figure out the diamond. So I kind of looked online at like recipes of how to make friendship bracelets, and I could have taken the time to figure them out. But instead, I kind of started with what I knew how to do. I knew I could figure out the V pattern, so I did that. And then I tried some other things, and you can see that's not the best looking bracelet right here, right? It's all just kind of a big mess. But I was trying things, and that's okay. And then down here, I went back to doing the chevron. It's called a chevron pattern. That's what the V's are, this. Someone ever says chevron, that's what they mean. Like the gas station, if you've ever seen that, it has logo, and it's like V's. Anyhow, so then I worked on the diamond, but I didn't get it quite right. I got some extra yellow. But then down here, I kind of started to figure it out. See? Figure out how to do the diamond, how to put a color inside, how to put different colors inside, and how to go back and forth with the colors. So I was happy with that. So if you have mastered this, then what you need is at least 3 pieces of yarn. Where'd my other piece go? That are different colors, more or less the same length. Ooh, my pink is not the same length, but that's all right. We're just going to pretend. Just to make it easier when you guys are watching this, I'm going to make mine all exactly the same length. As you know, it does not always matter. Okay, so we'll take your yarn and you will fold it in half. Okay, this. You'll then take your loop and hold it in your one hand and hold the string part between your middle finger and your thumb on your other hand. You'll then take the yarn and wrap it around your finger like this. Oops. See how my yarn is around my finger? Then you're going to carefully kind of slide your finger out. See this loop right here? Well, we're going to carefully take this yarn of this loop and tuck it up and into here. And then pull it out. I want to make sure that that knot is kind of towards the end. It's not a huge loop. If you struggled to do that, if it wasn't easy for you, practice that. Take some other pieces of yarn just on their own. You can take just one piece of yarn. Okay. Put it around your finger. Right. And practice tying your knot. But once you get that down, right, you'll have something that looks like this, right? That is what we need to start with. If you want to have it so that you can knot it and have something to pull against, you can take another piece of yarn, right? And put it around something that your parents are okay with you putting it around. I'm just putting it around. You can see I've got my monitor riser right here. It's got a little leg that comes down. So I'm just putting the yarn around it. And I'm knotting it. So I've got this extra piece of yarn that's just working to hold my bracelet in place. All right, so let's go back to what I was doing. I'm just going to keep this here to help the camera focus. So what your job is to first practice making a chevron pattern, that's the V pattern, and then to innovate and come up with your own way of making this pattern or making designs on here. You're gonna change it up and say, what happens if I put 3 loops here instead of 2? What happens if I go 2 here, 1 here, and then you go back and do 2 on the first one? You get to figure that out. And after you do that, you get to make a bracelet that has your own special way of doing things, all right? You get to experiment with your art supplies and with how you're doing this. So separate out your colors and start with one color right in the middle, okay? Take both of the yarns that are that color and put them right in the middle. And then on the outside of those, put another color, and then the third color. So if we look at just this side, it is the mirror image of just this side. This is symmetrical, right? Right here. So it kind of mirrors itself. I am going to start with my leftmost yarn. Now I'm going to do what you've seen me do plenty of times before. I'm going to do 2 loops, taking my outside yarn and knotting it to the second yarn. I'm going to take my outside yarn and knot it to the third yarn. 1, 2. Whoops, came undone here. A little hard, I guess, for my own knot. Sorry, I can fix that. Now I'm going to knot this back up. All right, back in business. Where was I? I did my yellow around my green, my yellow around my pink. Lay these back out here. Let's see, what did I do? I had it like this. I had yellow, and then green, and then pink. Okay. So I did my yellow around my green and around my pink. Now, normally what I would do is keep working across these, right? Now I do another yarn, but instead what I'm going to do is whatever I did over here, I'm going to mirror it over here on this side. So I'm going to take my yellow yarn on my outside here, most outside yarn. I'm going to do 2 loops around the second yarn. 1, 2. All right. Now I'm going to take my yellow yarn, that was my outside yarn, and do 2 loops around the pink yarn. 1, 2. Now what I have, so I've wrapped my yellow yarn around the greens and the pinks. The green is now on the outside, pink is the second, and the yellow ones that I wrapped around are now both in the middle. Now what you have to do is just do a basic over and under kind of knot, like you're tying your shoes almost, just like this. But pull the strings, you see my hands, pull the strings like this so they knot evenly. So do that twice. 2 middle yarns now. All right, do you know why? Because that V pattern that we're making, it has to be longer there in the middle. So let's see, where was I? Here we go. So now on my left side, I'm going to go back to the left. I'm going to take my outside yarn and loop it around and knot it to the second yarn. 1, 2. I'm going to take my green yarn and knot it to the middle yarn. 1, 2. Put the green yarn in the middle. Now I'm going to go out over here and take my green yarn that's on the outside over here and knot it around my pink yarn. 1, 2. Now, where am I at? Let's see, let's make sure I see exactly where I am. Well, I have wrapped everything in a green yarn except this yellow. And because the yellow is on the right side, I'm going to use the yarn on the right side that I'm working on. I'm going to do this once, twice. And now what do I have? Now I have my 2 green ones in the middle. So what am I going to do with the 2 green ones in the middle? They were on the outside, and I wrapped them around each of these, and I'm going to knot them together. Twice. All right. So can you see how that chevron pattern is working? So every time you take the outside one and wrap it around the next ones and the next ones. So I'll wrap this pink, both of these pinks, I'll wrap them around the yellows. And then I'll wrap the pink around the greens. And then I'll knot the pinks in the middle. All right. And I will continue to make this pattern. So let's just do this again. I'm going to do it a little quicker, and you can always go back and rewind and watch again. So I'm going to do pink around the yellow, the pink around the green, all right. Now I did this side. Now on this other side, what do I have to do? I have to do the same thing, except in reverse, right? In a mirror. I have to do the pink around the yellow, the pink around the green, now what do I do? Do you know what comes next? I take my pinks, I cross one over the other and loop it under. It's like you're gonna start to tie your shoe. And then I just pull evenly on these two. And I knot them together twice. All right, let's make sure I see what I'm doing here. Oops, this one didn't do it. If you see something like this, can you see where my green is poking through my pink? Just roll that pink up a little bit and cover it up. Just means I didn't pull it tight enough. There we go. So when I work on this side, I'm making this part of the bead. On this side, I'm making this part of the bead. Now what happens if I do 3 times around. Well, actually, I'll start on the left because that's what I've been doing. So what if I take my one on the left and I go 3 times? 1, 2, 3. Just to keep things even, I'll do it over here at the same time, okay? 1, 2, 3. Well, can you see what's happening now? This is bigger here, isn't it? Well, I've got options with what I do. Oops. Actually, they would lay like this. I can take my pink and I can, my middle strings, and I can put my pink around my yellow string, work the one in the middle back out. So 1, 2, and then do the same thing on the other side. Take the middle string, go to the yarn next to it. 1, 2. Look at that. Now I've got sort of an X starting, right? Well, what happens if I do the pink around the green now? I'm going to do that. One, 2. Oh, I made an X. All right, well, I'm going to do it over here on this side too because I want it to be symmetrical. I want both sides to be the same. 1, 2. Well, that's kind of cool. I like how that looks. Now I've got options here. I can knot my yellows in the middle and start making yellow here. Or I could take my green and wrap it around my yellows. And that's going to make a different pattern. But since the yellows are just in the middle already, I'm just going to knot those 2 together twice. Let's keep it a little bit simple right now. Also, my strings are kind of short just because it's easier on camera to show you when I'm using shorter strings. It took me a while to figure that out, but all right, well, let's see. I've got different options now. Now I have to decide which ones do I want to do. What's going to happen if I take my greens and I wrap them around my yellows? Do you know? I do, but I'm going to show you. 1, 2. 1, 2. Now my greens are in the middle. Oh, all right. So it showed just a little bit of yellow there. Oops, did I do that twice there? Yep, I guess I did. Just a little bit of yellow. Well, I'm going to knot my greens together. Because if I didn't, then the middle, my yarn wouldn't be like this anymore. The pattern wouldn't be building in a diagonal. Because right now what I have done is a V shape down here, right? If I don't knot the middle ones together, then I'll lose that V and I'll start having a strange pattern just go straight across. All right. Now if I take my pink and I start using that again, what's going to happen? The pink's going to start moving towards the middle, right? So do that around yellow, do that around green, 2. Oh, look at that, I'm getting a pink diamond. If you accidentally get your yarns out of order, it's okay, it happens, I've done it. Don't worry about it too much, just try and remember the next time. You'll get better as you do it more. So 1, 2, and let's see, where am I at now? All the yarns here have pink wrapped around them, don't they? Oh, no, they don't. This one on this side, it doesn't. I missed it. So I'm going to wrap this pink on the right side around the green twice. There we go. See how I made that diamond with 2 different colors? Now what should I probably do right now? There's other ways I can change this, and I can make the chevron start going the other way, or I can just go back to my normal patterns, but I want you to practice figuring out how to make this X that I just made, and then try things on your own. What happens if I put a whole bunch of yellow out here around the green, and I knot the pinks together? So you get to try things. I want you to experiment. It will probably not look perfect. That is okay. Sometimes you have to learn what to do with your materials. This is experimenting with a technique that you already know. So I hope you're having fun with this. It is good for your brain to remember patterns and to learn how to build them and to recognize them. So that's one reason we're doing this, and also it's really good for your hands. To be able to move fine things as your hands and muscles grow. You need to make sure that you continue to develop those skills with your hands so that you have good control over it, because no matter what you do for a job, it's good to be able to do things with your hands, right? All right, so hope you have fun. Enjoy making your friendship bracelets. Remember, if you don't have yarn, you can use strips of fabric. Talk to your adult or your parents if there's an old t-shirt somewhere. Even if it's, oops, I missed one right there, didn't I, when I did this yesterday. But what I was saying was an old t-shirt, you can cut that into strips. And if you want to make sure they're different colors, you can use a marker just to make that piece of the shirt different colors. You can practice learning how to do these patterns. Even if it's not something that you want to keep, you can learn how to do it. And then when we get back into school at some point and we make some more like this, you'll already know how to do it. You'll be able to do it on the yarn. All right. Take care. I hope you are all doing well. I've certainly thought about you, and I'm glad you still get to make art with me. Bye-bye.